QW1 said what?
Put the lights out so everybody can take a nap. All right, here we go. So HamClock is a pretty unique little application that actually materialized back probably in 2016, maybe even before that, but it became popular in 2016 and 2017. It's a nice little app. It's a great tool for your shack. So we're going to spend a little bit of time. I'm going to talk about the device, about the several different ways that if you would like one, that you could get it, build it. You can either put it together as a kit, you can buy it as a complete assembled device, you can buy it as in pieces and put it together as your shack allows, right? So we're going to go through a lot of the options. We'll look at the pros and the cons, and we'll try to cover what I think is probably the more important items, because it would probably take about 5 hours realistically to cover every single feature in this thing. That's how feature-rich this product is, this piece of software is. So, little history. What's HamClock? Elwood Downey, back in 2017, made it really popular. He wanted to have a piece of software that would allow ham operators, specifically ham operators, the ability to do a lot of key things that we do, like the DX cluster stuff and space weather, radio propagation, satellite tracking. So he initially developed this thing to run on a Raspberry Pi or an ESP controller, microcontroller, right? So, you know, where did he get the idea for it? It actually came from the GEOCRON. GEOCRON is a device that's been around for over 50 years. It was initially a mechanical device, and one of the key features of it was that it showed, you know, the gray line, right? Which was a big deal for ham operators, right? Because we knew that if we operate on the gray line, we can get some pretty good contacts going there. So GEOCRON evolved into software. And it became a device and a piece of software, and you could put it on a 50-inch monitor in your shack and had a big, beautiful display. But there was a couple of challenges with that, right? So this is going to be a video that we're probably not going to hear, but this just kind of shows you some of the features of GEOCRON. Our remote audience will be listening to it, I believe, but in here we really won't be able to hear it because of some audio challenges we had. But what you can see is it's tracking satellites, it shows night, daytime, it shows weather patterns, it shows propagation, temperatures, barometric pressures. You can select different things, turn them on and off. Those are propagations. It was a nice little device, and you could put it on a very large screen. When it first came out, there was nothing even close to it. Well, what Elwood said was, I think I could write software to do that, and I think I could do it on computers that aren't that expensive. Here's the problem with GEOCRON. It's $500 for that piece of software and piece of hardware. That kind of limited the number of people who were purchasing it and using it in their shacks. So he came up with a couple of solutions. He launched a web page, and it's called Clear Sky Institute. Now, if you go to Clear Sky Institute, the page, it's got a lot of information on it. It's got a lot of cool stuff for ham radio guys. One of the things on that page is the HamClock. Just one of the many things that it's there. So you also go to his page, go to the page in Clear Sky, and you'll see that there's the original QST article from 2017 is actually still up there. And it's a really good source of information if you're a kit builder and you want to put this together yourself, right? So that's I mean, obviously you can't read it, but that's the article. And it has a lot of options. You can add light sensors, you can add barometric pressure to it, you can do all these different things if you want to build it and base it on an ESP microcontroller. Okay. It's not cheap to do. You'll spend easily over $100 and something doing this, buying all the pieces, and by the end of the month, those prices are going to go even higher because most of the stuff is sourced from out of the country. So that's a con as far as I'm concerned. It's not a positive aspect. But the article's up there, and if you want to read a little bit about it, he talks about a little bit about the history, about what he's done, and how to go about building it as per the QST article. And remember, this is 2017. So when you go to the actual pages, if you're going to build it, you could actually do it on many different forums, or many different platforms, excuse me. He has all the different platforms available. You can do it on a Raspberry Pi, you could do it on a Mac, you could do it on any Unix kind of system. You can load this software and run it, and it'll run really well. Here's the deal. If you're comfortable using Unix commands, and a lot of people aren't, this is a good approach if you're comfortable using Unix. You can cut and paste stuff from this page, you can program the controllers, you can run it, you can load it into your computer, but there's a much easier way to do this. So, there's a couple of ways to get a HamClock, to get it up and running. You can build a device using an ESP microcontroller. You can build it using a Raspberry Pi or 3 or a 4, right? You can buy a pre-programmed device right off the shelf. I mean, there's companies in Europe that'll sell you it's a piece of art, actually. They used different kinds of wood, and they made a nice display out of it, but they want hundreds of dollars for these things. Or you can go to Innovato and get it for a much, much more reasonable price. We're going to look at the pros and cons, but spoiler alert, I think the Innovato approach is the least expensive and the most capable. Yes, sir? Oh. So he's saying that he bought one, it's $49. It's a plug-and-play solution, and we'll cover that. Yeah. They're great, yeah. I have one up here. I'll show it to you. Okay. So here's how you could build one if you're a tinkerer and you want to do an ESP 8266. Oh, Amber Alert. This is kind of going along with the article. He gives you a parts list here. Here's some errata data. He has this display controller here listed for $5. It's actually $35. So when you start adding up the numbers here, the shipping costs, the procurement time, everything else, I look at the whole thing, it probably cost you over about $120, maybe $130 to build a little 7-inch display, and that's mine at home. That's my little small one I have at home, right on the left over here. Or I guess it's, yeah. So it's a fun project to build. You can learn some commands, and you'll learn some electronics while you do it, right? It's a 7-inch touch screen. It looks nice on your desk, and it does everything that all the other versions will do. You got to program it. You got to and hope that when it's all said and done that it works, right? The challenge of building it yourself is there's no guarantee at the end, as well as there's no customer support line to call if it doesn't work. Okay, so it takes your time and your labor. The second option would be to use a Raspberry Pi. It's a more powerful device. It's pretty much a plug and play. The downside is it's a little expensive, right? You still need to go get a nice display for it and a mount and a little thing, but you can buy all that stuff. When you go to buy a Raspberry Pi, all these other options you'll see available on Adafruit and different websites like that, right? Once again, it's probably going to cost you north of about $100 to do this approach. One of the advantages you have is you can load other applications, right? This thing over here about HamPi, I don't know if anybody's heard of it. So Dave Slaughter is a ham, he's actually here in Georgia, and he took a whole array of ham applications, and he put them all together and he calls it HamPi. And so if you program this with HamPi software, you not only get HamClock, you get, I think there's about 60 applications total in there. There's FL Digi, there's, you name it, there's everything imaginable inside his application, and you could run it from here. So there's advantages to using a Raspberry Pi. The disadvantages, it's cost a little bit. If you're only focused on a HamClock, it's more expensive, it's more money than you need to spend, right? It works great, costs more, it takes time and labor to assemble it, and you're gonna have to program it. You're going to have to buy a power supply. You're going to have to buy an SD card. But it's all worth it in the end if you're going to use the device. A nice 7-inch touchscreen. Or another option, you can like 2B if you want to, you use a Raspberry Pi and you connect it up to your monitor. If you have a monitor, you have a TV in your house that takes an HDMI input, you have any small display unit, you can hook a Raspberry Pi right up to it, and it would work. But you're going to need a keyboard, and you're going to need a power supply, and you're still going to need an SD card also to use the Raspberry Pi, and you still have to program it in the end, right? You have to flash it and send the information onto a small card and then load it. If you do that kind of stuff, it's not a big deal. If you haven't, it's an experience, a good learning experience. Now here's what I recommend. The option 3, which is Innovato. It's a self-contained device. It comes with a case. I don't know if you can see. I have one right up here, and we're going to look at the live output on it. I don't know if Ian, can you? Oh, you really can't see it up there, can you? So, nah, it's got a short cable. So it's a self-contained little box. Doesn't need anything. It comes with a power supply. You can get it with a small keyboard like this if you want. It's got a little small. You can buy these. These are about $9 on Amazon. You plug it in, and you can do all your manipulation from that small keyboard. This option is probably the simplest way to get HamClock. So let's assume you take this route, which I highly recommend. You could just buy the device, right? They used to be $29, they're $39 now if you buy just the device. You can download the software, you can upload it into the device, and you're done. It works. And you don't need it comes with a power supply. And if you want a little keyboard, or if you have an external keyboard, a wireless keyboard, you can do that. There's some of the other options I'm going to show you here that make working with it probably even easier than using one of those small keyboards. Right? It's a great little device. So when they do a comparison to the Raspberry Pi to a Quadra, which is what they call an Innovato Quadra, the net total, and I can guarantee that this $80 that's shown up here, it's actually probably a lot more for all the Raspberry Pi things that you will have to purchase to get a functional system. Versus a Quadra, you're going to spend about $49 and it's done. And it'll be at your front door in a couple of days. So I really highly recommend looking at the Innovato. This is off his website. There's many different options. You could buy the Granddaddy package up here for $59. It comes with the keyboard. It comes with the power supply. It comes with HDMI cable. It all comes all packaged in there, ready to go. And just as a late thing, I found like an Amazon. So now you buy that for $49. Amazon, delivered to your front door, $35. It's a small 7-inch touchscreen. You just plug in an HDMI cable, plug in the power supply, and you're done. It'll be up and running. So for under $100, you can have a very nice display on your ham shack for HamClock. So I've been talking about all these different ways of getting there. So let's assume we figured out how to get a HamClock. Now we've got a functional HamClock on our desk. What I'd like to start to talk about now is, what does this thing really do? And why do I even want this, right? So HamClock is a very powerful tool for your ham shack. It has so much stuff in it that, honestly, if I wanted to talk about all the features, we'd be here for hours and hours and hours. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to discuss what I think is probably the most common uses of HamClock, how you can use it for in your shack, how you can use it to make good contacts, make good DX, as well as how you can get a really nice display. I personally have one running up on a 50-inch TV that's on the wall. I use one of the inputs on the TV. I don't leave it up there all the time, but when I need propagation information, or I switch the input to the TV to HamClock, which is like HDMI 2 on mine, boom, I've got a nice 50-inch display. And then I'm going to show you how you can control it from using any web browser rather than a small keyboard or something along that line. So when I talk about how to control it, and we're going to do this live here, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed and make sure everything works. Once a HamClock is up and running, one of the things you'll notice is it displays its IP address up here. It's part of the normal display. And if you come up here in a normal browser, you type in that IP address. See up here it says .86.74, colon 8081 / live HTML. Boom, what'll show up on your browser screen on your regular computer will be that HamClock display. And you can configure everything from your browser. You don't have to fiddle around with a tiny little small 7-inch display. Lee was kind enough to bring one in, and they're great. They're wonderful devices. A little bit tough. I know for me, as I get older, the smaller it gets, the less I like them. So I like stuff big. I like to see it big in front of me. This will give you that option. We can do that with that device. We're going to do it with the one that's running on the desktop up there. So that's a simple way to get it to display on your browser as well as be able to control it. So when you launch, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk through some stuff. It'll make sense when I'm done, unfortunately. It's hard to kind of give you a preview of what we're up to. So when you first launch your HamClock, there's 7 pages of configuration data. It's a little overwhelming. The key things you put in here when you launch your HamClock, you put your call sign, you put in either your maidenhead or your Latin long, and you let it run a web-based time thing. You can have it figure out where you are by your IP address and all that other stuff. It'll do that, but you're not going to be as accurate as if you put in your own Latin long. So that's the key things you worry about on page 1. Page 2, if you do FT8 and you want to be able to watch the contacts you're making live on a screen, the propagation, you will set this up much like you see here. You set up clustered ES. Oh, I went the wrong way. You set clustered ES, UDP. UDP is a protocol that devices on a network they kind of chat at each other. They send out information. One listens, one talks. And you don't have to have a direct connection other than the common network between them. So you would say yes. So like WSJTX, right? On my system, it uses port 2237 at this IP address, that host address. And every time WSJTX says something, it shows up on my HamClock. I can see the propagation path. I know where I am. It knows my DE. It knows the DX. It'll show me the transmission path. It'll show me the short path over. I can ask it to show me the long path. And we're going to look at some of that when we go into the live display here. So those are key things. Page 2 is key. You can do rotor control. You can do rig control. This thing can do a lot of cool stuff. I don't take advantage of it all. It does ADIF stuff. It'll watch your logs. You can have it flag countries. You can have it flag call signs. You can have it flag locations. So it does a lot of cool things. You have to configure it. This is where my map shows up in center. This page has got a lot of information on it. You can play games with all these different settings. The two things that I would maybe pay attention to is how often it rotates panes, and you'll see why that's important in a little bit, and how often it rotates the map displays. You can set up all your different colors for all your propagation paths. So you're starting to grasp. This thing has got so much detail, and you have to pick what you want to pay attention to, because you're not going to be able to pay attention to everything, I guarantee it. I've had these things for a couple years, and I still find out things about, wow, I didn't know it did that. So my point of showing all this is that you can program as little or as much as you want and use it as detailed or as high level as you want. It's a great, great device. What this is you could actually, it'll turn itself on and off on a schedule that you pick, right? So that's in there. So let's look at some real data. I'm going to pull up that HamClock that's running on the desk there. Now, what I just did is I had a bookmark that I grabbed early in the session. And what I did was I got the IP of this device right up here that's running. So rather than look at the output of that, Mark, can you bring that one up? This input here, which is this? This is, no, that's my laptop. Yeah, no, you should have one that shows no URL. This one, what's that? N2. It's N2, so I just had up there. Oh, you know why? This is going out to the audience. This one, never mind. My mistake. All right, I'm confusing myself. So what we're looking at is the output of that device right there. We're looking at it because they're broadcasting over the same, on the same nodes in the network, and I can change things here, and it'll make changes to that HamClock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start walking through the different segments. One of the key things, and this won't work here, right? Yeah, okay. If you notice, there's these different blocks. There's a section here, there's a section here, there's a section 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each of those are separate, and you can configure each of those to be what you want it to be. So what I'm looking at here, DE obviously is my location. It knows my Latin long. So this is me right here, that orange dot. That's this information here. It shows me sunrise and sunset. Sunset was a minute ago, actually. You can toggle this to be the actual time. Sunrise will be at 7:04, sunset will be at 2018. I can change my UTC offset, where I am. DX, that has to do with where I tell it. So I can pick a location. Like, for example, if I want to say in South America, I'm going to set my DX. I don't know if you can follow this over here, right over here now. I'm setting that, right? I'm going to set that as my DX. I'm going to say OK. It shows me my path. It shows me my short path, SP. Shows me the short path, tells me the distance, tells me my rotor direction to get to where I just told it I wanted to talk to. And at the same time, if you noticed, when I did that, vocab changed. It shows me what bands and how successful I'll be. And I have it set for 100 watts, FT8, takeoff angle of greater than 3, short path. And you can see here, and this is the UTC time. So right now, we're 0021. So we're in this area right in here. Theoretically, 20, 30, 40, 17, and 15, I should be able to probably make a contact there. So you can see how really valuable this is. If you're chasing DX, this will help you do it. It's a very simple device to help you visualize all that stuff that you used to have to go to a dozen different websites to do. Okay, so I'm going to come up here. You can configure colors. It's endless how many things you can change with this with just a keystroke. Okay, I can change the colors of my call sign. You can make it look really pretty. I can have it not only just do my call sign, I can have it rotate a title. You can have your call sign up there. You can have I have my name Dave. If I did that, it'll rotate KO4 back to Dave, and it'll just change, right? So it's very pretty. It shows me the CPU temperatures of the device that it's running. It shows me how long the device has been up. It tells me a version. When there's a new version, that number turns red. You click on it, it updates itself. It's a simple operation. It's not challenging to upgrade. You don't have to go download stuff and then flash it, and just click on the version number, and it'll say you want to upgrade. You say yeah. It'll download it, load it, move on. It's done. You can change the format of the dates, the times. It's kind of endless. So one of the other things I'm going to start to talk about is the actual map display. So I'm going to change this to start. I'm going to go here to countries. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to turn on MUF, which is maximum usable frequency. RT means real time. And I'm going to say OK. And it's going to draw me a new map. And then what you can tell is, based on the frequency scale across the bottom, you can see the map where the maximum usable frequencies are. So for like right now, North America is all kind of right up into here. And if you look at these little numbers in the circles, it tells you the frequency that the MUF is at. So you can kind of back channel and say, okay, if I want to talk to anybody in the US, it's probably going to be under 23 megahertz. That's verified by the vocab display, right? Because you can look up there. If you clicked your DX up into North America, I click here. I say that's where I want to talk to somebody. I click that. Oop, there. If you noticed, the vocab DEDX display changed. It now shows my distance and shows me what bands are probably going to be really good to work up there. If you're not an FT8 guy, you can come over here. You can go, okay, I want to do it on CW. And you say, okay, well, mouse thing, here we go. And it changed a little bit. Not a lot, but it did change a little bit. And if you run more than 100 watts, let's say you run 1,000 watts, the expectation is you're going to get more propagation, right? You're going to be able to do more. And it changes all this stuff on the fly, so you don't have to go out to 6 different websites to go chase this stuff down. So that's one of the things you can do just with the map display. Some of the other things it does, if you like looking at temperature ranges, those from the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, those two, it shows you the temperature ranges in the center in there. You can change it to an azimuthal. The display will change depending on what your flavor is that you like, right? This is one I like. When you look at how many times you're in a contest and you go, oh, ITU zone, what zone am I in? This is, if you notice, when I go over to a different zone, it actually lights up the outline of it. What CTU zone or ITU zone, right? So that's a very nice feature. I like that. And if you can get an idea of all the different areas around the world. Let's see what else we got. I want to say, if you want to bring up weather patterns, let's go turn off the grid. They'll just show you temperatures. Now, one of the things that this is really cool is no matter where I put my mouse, I can come over here, and let's say in Africa, and if you notice, it's showing me the particulars for that exact place that I had my mouse. So let me go back there again. Hold on a second. There. So it's telling me the lat and the long. It's telling me what grid it's in. It's telling me the ITU zone, the CQ zone. It's telling me the short path, direction, the distance, and the temperature right now is 90 degrees up there. Chock full of information. Chock full of information. So you can. Dave,
can you maximize the map?
You can zoom.
No, your screen. Maximize the window.
I think it is.
That is. You could also full screen your browser. Or yeah, full screen.
I'm not sure what's going to happen if I do that, to be honest with you. This thing got a little wonky on us before. I'm a little bit nervous about that. Well, I can actually, in the documentation, I can tell you, I can look it up afterwards. I don't know off the top of my head, but it tells you the source of all the different information it gets. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how fast it refreshes. It gets it right from wherever if it's up on the website, it'll pull it directly. Because as you change it, it changes immediately. So live spots. I'm going to move into this next area up here, which I think is pretty interesting. So right now, this is showing me PSK Reporter data. I can change that. I can do it based on my call sign. I can do it based on a grid. Obviously, I haven't been on the radio, so it doesn't show any propagation, but what you just saw it do is this is propagation, and I have it set for 40 meters and 20 meters. Come on, update. I don't know why it's being a little sluggish. Okay, so it's showing you that the yellow is 20 meters. This is all live data coming off a PSK Reporter. For the last 24 hours, I can change the time interval. I can change it to the last 15 minutes. Yeah, that was in the configuration. Remember at the beginning, I had all those pages so I was going to say, now it'll start to make sense to you. You can change the colors and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay. So what I just did was I said, show me the 20 meters, right? I can ask the other bands here. One of the other things you can do is over here in your vocab for 20 meters, it'll actually, I clicked on it, and now it's going to show me the reliability of actually using 20 meters based on a color coding across the world. And the percentage of reliability is set across the bottom scale. So right now is probably a pretty good time to go use 20 meters on those bands. You have a high reliability in those areas. Excuse me? These are coming from PSK Reporter. The reliability and the shading and all that's coming from vocab. And if you notice, you got all these different, what do you call them? Beacons. And it shows you the different, which beacons are up here in this top corner up here, and the frequencies that they're being. So the yellow one, where is the yellow one? Can we even see it? Well, just to follow suit. There's the blue. There's the blue. So, okay. So there's my point, right? So you can take a conglomeration of the two different sources of information, live spots, as well as vocab, and start to anticipate your propagation if you want to do DX. What is up there right now is all the different things that you can configure into that box. You can have one, you can have several, and there's kind of a trade-off between all these different boxes up here, right? If you select it in this box, you won't be able to select it in this box. You maybe be able to do two of them over here, and you all of a sudden won't have the same options available in the next box, because it does some kind of a mediation between all those boxes so that they start to correlate to each other, right? And you have to play around with that. This middle box is obviously moon. Right now it's showing the moon. Let's say if I want to, look at what contests are going to be this weekend. Let's let that cycle. I should have turned off the moon. Hold on a second. Let me turn that off so it stays on the contests. So there's the contests for the weekend that's coming up. Now, when I click on this, I can actually have it show me the dates, and it tells me the times that the contests will be there also. So it's a really useful feature if you're a contester. You can have that constantly up on your screen, or you can have it cycle through all kinds of different things you want. Let's see. If I want to look at DX positions, hold on a second. Those are the DX positions going on right now. And it's based on this source up here, the DX News NG3K. Tells me where they are. There's another one on here. Let me think about this for a second. On the air. Let's do that. Let's turn off this.
So, Dave, got a question for you.
Yeah.
Can you track high altitude balloons on this?
I I don't think it has. I haven't,
If they're connected with an APRS or,
I'm not sure.
okay.
I'm not sure. I can look, I can find that out. I can dig into it and see. So one of the things on the air, that the one I just programmed in the middle there, if you're a POTA guy, right now it's showing me all different kinds of stuff that's on the air. If I want to look at, what do I want to look at here? Organization, and I say POTA. It now shows me the call signs and their park numbers, right? It tells me what frequency they're on. So if you're chasing POTA, if you're a hunter, you could sit here and you don't have to go to the POTA website now. Now you can just work down your list right here. Hopefully you're starting to see that there's so much stuff available. I mean, as I bring up these different menus, there's so much stuff available that you can select and configure to your customized display, that this can be a really very powerful tool to be used in your shack, and it's not very hard to do, and not very expensive. All right, let's see, one other thing I want to show. There was one more, hold on a minute. Oh. Let's look at Aurora. Oh, that's not right, hold on a minute. Yep. So we know that there's a lot of sunset activity going on right now. You can see that in the north and the south. There will be a significant amount of aurora available. Up here, if you select it up here, it'll actually show you the higher percentages that you'll have in the different hours. So, I mean, the displays are very beautiful. They do a nice job. Just to show you where the sun is. The moon is somewhere on here. Oh, here it is, right over here. If you can see, there's the moon, there's the sun. And there's an interesting point on there, which I'm not quite clear. Maybe somebody could even tell me. So see this point right here? If you drill a hole straight through the earth, remember when you were a kid, you said if you dug deep enough, you get to China? Well, if you dug a hole deep enough right there, this is where you'll come out. I don't know what purpose they have it on the map, but it's there. Right?
Diametral projection.
What is it?
Diametral projection.
What do you use it for?
Find out where the direct opposite.
Just the other side of the earth? Is that really all it is?
Find out if you're digging for nothing.
That's right. How far you have to go. All right. I can continue to go through showing many, many options. I think at this point what I want to do is just probably take questions, because this will get really kind of just tedious looking at one feature after the other after the other.
Okay, we got the microphone going here. Hang on a second.
So Dave, when you're programming it initially, if you put in your maidenhead, will it automatically determine the lat longe and vice versa, or do you have to put each in individually?
No, if you put your maidenhead in, it'll come up with it'll come up with your lat and long. It may not be as accurate because obviously maidenhead is a greater area, but how much difference it'll make in your projections? Probably none. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you're driving the program. Talk close. You're driving the program with a mouse, but you also have a touch screen. Which is touch screen inferior to using the mouse with this program? Because it's pretty condensed, and I'm just curious how that works out.
If you use a 7-inch touch screen, like what Lee brought in his model up here, or like what I originally showed, it gets finicky depending on how good of a touch screen you've purchased. you can spend, I mean, for a 7-inch screen, you can spend $50, you can spend $40, or you can spend $500, depending on the resolution of the screen. And that's what's going to make the difference. But, like I said at the beginning, my old eyes, even the most accurate touch screen, it gets a little bit difficult sometimes to pick out the special area. That's why it's so much easier if you use your browser to kind of log into it.
So is it okay to set up a Raspberry Pi headless on the network and then just access it from a browser? And
Absolutely. If you know what IP address it grabs, I mean, you can probably, and the other thing is this is wireless right now. It also has an RJ45 on the back. You could hardwire it on your network also. I think when you do that, you'll know it's probably easier to figure out what the heck the Wi-Fi address is or the actual IP is, right? Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. And actually, when you reboot this, right? So I wonder if I can do that. Let's see what happens. Because I can exit out of HamClock. And watch what I'm going to do up here. I'm going to come up to where the clock is, where the little lock is. I'm just going to hold it for a second. And then I have these options. I can save the configuration, which I wanted to bring up. If you do this, and you spend the time and you make all your different configurations, and you get it just the way you want it, come here to configuration and save it. Because if you lose something, you'll probably have to read for another hour to figure out how you did it the first time, right? And I've done that, unfortunately. Even tonight when we came in and plugged it back in, for whatever reason, the configuration got wiped. And it didn't have call sign. It didn't have any of this information in there. And I was like, oh, I got to reload all this stuff. And I go, oh, maybe I saved it. It did save it. It took 2 seconds, reloaded it, and flashed itself, and it came in. So what I'm going to show you here, I can exit out of HamClock. Let's see if I lose connectivity here. Let's see what happens. Come on. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, it won't do it. We'll give it a shot. So when you exit out of HamClock, and this is where it gets a little bit, I can't show you the output out of this. Can I? Let's think about that for a minute. Well, this is still running, actually. I mean, yeah. Anyway, it takes you out to the main screen of the Linux screen. HamClock is an icon on there, just like on a Windows. It's a regular GUI interface. Up on the header of the top of the Linux screen, there's all the standard options for speakers, and just like on Windows, right? And if you go to the top right-hand side, there's a place where you can say, I want to go wireless networks. I want to do a direct connection for my IP address. You can, and I believe you can actually put in a direct IP so it doesn't use DHCP to go find one. So maybe you could assign it a permanent IP address. And then what we were talking about a minute ago is now if you know that, you could configure your browser to that address all the time. All right, so. Yes, sir.
The new Innovato is a 4K, so you have to have at least 1080p monitor to use the new one. But the Innovato, the new one, has a small display on the front, and it will literally scroll the IP. And I plugged mine directly into my router, so I've got like a 10.0.1, one of the internal IP addresses, and it's
Okay,
that's permanent.
so the Innovato 4K, one of the beauties of it, and I kind of blew past this in the beginning, and why I like this device more than a Raspberry Pi, more than the ESP82s. This thing, when you plug it into a TV, it's going to figure out the resolution. It's going to figure out the screen size, and it's going to give you a full screen display if you tell it that's what you want. It'll come up and say, do you want this full screen? Yes, boom, next thing, it's done. With the Raspberry Pis and with the ESP82 microcontrollers, when you do that one, it's going to come up to some fixed display size. Maybe won't fill your TV screen, and you have to play around with lines of code with different settings to try to get it to fill your screen. It's a real pain in the neck, to be honest with you. So that's why the first time I plugged this in and it automatically figured out the screen size, I was like, that alone made it worthwhile. I mean, it was saved me, you know, having to reload it, re-edit it, do all this stuff. This device is really amazing. And what he was saying about, you know, it'll scroll the IP. We saw that up there when it was running. It's got everything you need as a great tool for your shack. And even if you just want it as a pretty display, it's actually pretty nice. So, do we have another question?
Yeah. Are there links to any of these peripherals on the Discord?
They are not, but I can provide it. I can put a single slide up with all the different, hyperlinks, if you'd like. I mean, if as simple as it sounds, you go to innovato.com and you just everything's right there. And this gentleman, just as a footnote to this, he got it very ill not too long ago, and it was basically his website. He says, "We're not selling these. The last one, the inventory's gone. I'm not doing this anymore." He was stricken with cancer and he got very ill. I'm not quite clear what happened. My heart wishes that he got better, and all of a sudden, so the website is up and running, full blast now. Maybe he's got a partner, I don't know. He's very responsive to his customer support. You send an email, you'll get an answer probably within a couple of hours, which is amazing to me these days, right, that anybody does that. So the website's up and running. I'd love to support the guy, and I just wish him the best going forward, you know.
So he has a disclaimer on his site right now that he'll get to ship your device if you order it, as the chemo that he's taken will allow him.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
He has a disclaimer banner on his website saying that it is shipping as the chemotherapy he's taking will allow him to ship.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I mean, I've been on his website as of like this week. Maybe
That
it's
was
there,
just,
I didn't notice.
Just on a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
He's posted that.
So the business is up and running. When he initially made his first proclamation about that whole thing, I bought 3 of them, right? I just bought the devices, and that was it. So, any other questions? Ted?
So in my
Wait for the mic for a second, please.
In my setup, I use my call sign because I want to see where my call sign is going. There's an option to change that to your grid square so that you can see other hams
Correct.
in your grid square and where their signals are going. That's
Right.
quite helpful.
That was when I kind of went fast over that. I had initially set it to my call sign, and it showed nothing because I wasn't on the radio for the last day or two, right? It was a 24-hour period. In that same top box, you can select grid square, and then you can configure more underneath that, right? You can, I mean, so that it's an experience and a learning, quite a learning experience, and I highly recommend you go to the website and you download the user manual. Kind of just to give you, yeah, that's the user manual, and it's got tons and tons of information about all the different configuration aspects for each of those little boxes. So you got to read all this stuff if you want to start digging into it, right? So when Mike asked me about can it track a weather balloon, I don't know. I'll go dig into that because I've never looked to try to answer that question before, right? So, but it might have that capability. I'm not sure. Yeah. Tim?
Can the server support more than one client at the same time?
Can the server support more than one?
Can you have two computers connected to it on the network
Oh,
at
yeah.
the same time,
Oh,
displaying
absolutely.
different
Yeah.
information?
Yeah, because it's just broadcasting out over that node, right? So it doesn't care. You could hook 10 devices up. Doesn't care.
Can you quickly explain how I can use the cluster to improve my FT8 scores?
Improve your scores. Well, I would use the cluster to look at the propagation, see what has the highest reliability. Those are the band. That would be the band that I would immediately go to. And then, if you want to start collecting DXs in areas that you're currently shallow in or whatever, click there as your DX, and then start looking at your vocab prediction to see, okay, this is the time of day that I need to be on here to try to make a good contact there. Now, one of the things about the propagation has to do with your takeoff angle. It just has a greater than 3, I think, or whatever it is, right? If your antenna's got a very high takeoff angle, that data is going to be pretty much worthless to you, or less valuable to you, right? Because if your antenna is going like this and it needed to go like this, you're not going to make that DX, right? Start looking at the maximum usable frequencies. Start looking at the D-layer absorption, the DRAP, right? That's a real king. I mean, because as that number starts to change, your propagation is not going to work if the D layer, if the absorption layer is not amenable to what you're trying to do. Let's put it that way, right? Yeah, there's all these different pieces, Ted. It's not just going on a cluster and seeing, oh, well, that guy made a contact. Well, the guy could be 20 miles from you, and it could be a world of difference. So you have to look from your DE position, what all this information is telling you. Because a guy could be down the block, and he's booming into Saudi Arabia, and you can't even hear the guy. It's possible, right? Because we have all these really weird propagation things going on. So you have to try to take advantage of all those different things and come up with a summary of where it's telling you the best operating places. But it will be frequency, time, and destination dependent. I mean, it's the life we live when we do this stuff, right? Anything else? Oh, Steve. Oh.
So I just want to give a shout out to Dave for helping me find the timer. I didn't like the clock to stay on 24/7.
Oh.
So in Linux, or whatever the operating system is, you have to go back out of HamClock. But there's like 20 things in the list. I didn't bother to look all the way to the bottom. And that's where the timer can be set.
Ted calls me up, he'll tell me something, and then usually call him back 10 minutes later because it perplexes me, and then I'll go, I think I know where that is, and I have to kind of find it. So, Steve.
I just wanted to make one little point about the vocab data that these things pick up and that we all use no matter where we get it. That is not real-time data. That's based on historical data, and any activity in the sun present time will completely make all of that null and void. And so that's just important. As long as everything's normal and nothing strange is going on, vocab data is pretty good, but sometimes it is absolutely useless.
Okay, so if you noticed when I pulled up the the maximum usable frequency data, there's two settings. There's one that comes off of vocap, and there's also one that comes real time. It's a selection on there, and they use the monitoring stations that are out there to get the real time data. So it's still a crapshoot. I think we all know that, right? But to your point, yeah, you can't. It's not gospel. You can't. I wouldn't bet on it, but it at least steers you in the right direction, right? But it's a good point, right? Beats the heck out of me. Did anybody answer that? He said, why is there no vocap data for 160?
It's Voice of America program, and they don't have 160, they don't transmit down.
So that's why there's no 6 meters. Okay.
They don't, it's all Voice of America, right? And maybe that won't be around much longer either, I don't know. Didn't we just fire everybody and hire them back again or something? I don't know, whatever. I don't know. All right, thank you. Appreciate you giving me your ear. Appreciate it. If you want to, at the end, I mean, I have these devices up here. You can come and see them.